Hi again. It is my pleasure to introduce our speaker and founding minister today. Many of you know Lloyd. I've been here 22 years and I've known him that long. He and I are together keeping the memory of Doris Jones alive. Doris is Carol's mom and a master practitioner, and I can't think of her without some sentiment, and God bless her. Lloyd found his way to Science of Mind in 1967, so figure that out, that's 48 years. He became a minister in 1974 and held the pulpit at 4 churches, beginning with Napa, Burlingame, and then our church in 1982. Golden Gate Center for Spiritual Living was founded in 1982 in San Francisco. First services, I understand, were at a theater on Union Square. Lloyd also held a pulpit at San Jose, and along the way he was awarded Minister of the Year by the Church of Religious Science. Lloyd is founding president of the Holmes Institute, where our ministers receive degrees in consciousness studies. He was the founding president of the Science of Mind Foundation, which this day has a supporting fund of $3 million. Lloyd is retired now and living in Cape Cod. Where he is pursuing his passion and promises to come back and take a dip with us every now and then. A dip in what, you say? In the waters of the Most High Excelsior. That's us. Now, I'm stealing his lines now, so I'm going to get him up here in a moment, but I just want to leave you with one of my favorite Lloyd lines. I can remember several years ago being admonished to pump my prime. I swear to God, he said, I'll swear to it, but I haven't been able to get anybody else to confirm that they heard that. So I'm going to allow for the possibility that it could be a trick of the aforementioned rusty memory. But you can tell I'm very fond of Lloyd, and I want you all to join me in welcoming him back.
I think I'll stand up for a while. Let the blood circulate. Just so you all know, why am I standing here with this stick that someone gave me this week? I have one from Ron Buck, but I see he's not. Here he is. There he is over there. Thank you, Ron. I really value that stick you gave me. This one's 156 or 7 years old. Someone gave it to me and said it was their great-grandfather's who lived in Minnesota, and then it was her grandfather, great-grandfather, grandfather, and her father's. And now I have it. I think I can do a lot of good with this stick. I will eventually sit down just so everyone knows what's going on physically with me, as well as metaphysically. A year ago, last July, I had my, I don't think it was this pair, but I had my socks on, and I was going downstairs in my home on Cape Cod. I'm off Cape now, that's what they say, you know. Are you on Cape? No, I'm off Cape. Anyhow, I went upstairs, wooden stairs, to just go around and bless all the things in my house. I do that. I talk to things. When you live alone, you see, you create all sorts of things, especially when they can't necessarily talk back to you. You just say, "You are beautiful." "Oh, no, it's just the thing I'm wearing." No. I can't stand it when people do that. somebody gives you a compliment, or Raymond Charles Barker used to say, if somebody offers to take you to lunch, take it. You're treating for prosperity, take it. But most people say, oh, no. I've learned to be a gracious receiver. I say, absolutely. Anyhow, I was walking up the stairs, and I went around and thanked everything for being in the house, and because I had bought it at that time, I think about 7 years ago, and I had only got to use it a little bit because I totally renovated it, and it was always under construction. Anyhow, I went to go downstairs, and the contractor put the banister down too low. And I had a responsibility in that, in the fact that I didn't get a permit. So, anyhow, I went to lean down like this. I put this foot out, and I had my sock, and it was a wooden top stair, and boom. And so I grabbed onto the banister when I finally fell forward to get it, and I pulled my arm out of my socket. I strained this finger, but I have this one still. And I did all sorts of things to my shoulder, and I fell down, and I hit my head halfway down when I obviously went unconscious, and then the rest of it, I put my head through the wallboard, and I resided on the landing for 18 hours. But that was my breakout. Look at me standing this long. This is fabulous. Yeah. So while I was, this nasty little voice said, being laid, but actually I was lying on the landing for 18 hours. And I thought to myself, having pulled my head out of the wallboard, I think I fell. And I was sort of semi-conscious, and I thought, okay, are you going to live, or is this it? And so I made the decision that my work was not finished, that I had much to live for, and that no matter how hard it would be, I had to crawl over to my bed, which was down another 2 stairs, crawl across my bedroom, crawl up my bed, and get in it, and for God's sake, take a nap, Lloyd. Now, when the ambulance was called, because the cleaning lady came, thank God, and found me, they called the ambulance, and they took me to what is the capital? Hyannis, where the Kennedys live. I live down the road a piece. Anyhow, they took me there and to the emergency room, and all these doctors were around me, and they were all women. It's just so great to see women, you know, doing what they do best. They care for people. They love people. So she said, okay, honey, what happened? And I said, well, you know, I was still kind of out of it. And she said, well, what did you do? Did you call 911? Did you have one of those things on that you push a button and all that nonsense? And I said, no, absolutely not. I prayed. And she said, oh, well, all right, you're here, so it must have worked. So then she said, well, when you woke up, what'd you do? I said, well, I crawled over to my bed on my elbows, and I managed to pull up, and I took a nap. And she looked up and talked to all the doctors who were females and nurses, and she said, isn't that just like a man? He thinks if he takes a nap, everything's going to be all right when he wakes up. Well, that's what I did. Anyhow, so they transported me to Boston to women's hospital, women's and something, Brigham. Yeah, Brigham got in there somehow. But then they did this procedure on my head, which you if you want to, you can put your finger in my hole here. They did 2 drills into my head because I have blood on the brain. I've been accused of other things on the brain, but this time it was blood. So I didn't feel a thing, by the way, because when they do that to your brain, you don't have any feeling, no pain. I had pain, but no pain, if you know what I mean. I knew about it, and I knew they were doing it, and anyhow, the result is that I have to take physical therapy to learn to use my legs, my feet, my finger, my arm. And other than that, I'm in just great shape. There. So I wanted to talk to you all this morning on pursuing your passion. That's the theme for the month. And when Carol asked if I would talk about it, I said, I can't think of anything I'd rather do than to talk to you about pursuing your passion. Because clearly, this little incident, I call it my breakout, not my breakdown, but my breakout, gave me an opportunity to really look at my life, what I've done with my life, where my life has seemingly taken me, and what was the defining moment in my life when I knew that I had found what I wanted to do with my life, all of my life. And that occurred actually over here in Ross at 5 Hill Road. I always remember it. And it occurred in 1972 when I had been recognized as having accomplished what was required in classwork and training and in self-growth and all the things that a practitioner has to go through. And it occurred when I had ordered a metal, ironworks type sign down on down in San Rafael. I think it's on 3rd Street. There's an old foundry there. And they made me one of those, I can't think of it. That's a little bit of what's going on in my head. Wait a minute. Stop it. All right. But anyhow, it was a metal sign type thing with loop-de-loops, like they have in those ritzy places with a little tiny sign. Because Ross, thank you, only allows you to have a 6-inch sign. God forbid that it should disturb anybody if you had anything larger. But anyhow, I had it painted gold, black, shiny black, in gold lettering. And it said, Lloyd George Tupper, Practitioner, and my phone number. That's all I had. That was the defining moment of my life. Because I didn't realize that as a child I wanted to be a priest, and it was only because of all the drama. They had Latin, you couldn't understand a word they were saying, but I liked it because I couldn't understand it, I guess. And then, who was a Buddha said understanding is the booby prize? Werner Erhard said it too, by the way. So you all know, April B, 1975, as training. But anyhow, I realized that moment that my entire life had brought me to that point, to become a practitioner. And that I knew that's what I wanted to do with my life, and I had done a lot of other things, but that was the thing I really wanted to do. And then a couple of people, I won't mention any names because Bob Gale is here and he knows who they are. He used to be president of United Church. That's when we were not with RSI, before the amalgamated merger. And these two very high-powered ministers called me and said I had to go down to headquarters, which was then in LA. And of course, I thought, oh God, what have I done? So I went down and I sat down, and one of them said, Well, Lloyd, we've decided you are just not in your right place. I thought, uh-oh, they've caught up with me. And he said, you know, you're doing a BB gun's work as a shotgun. That's what he told me. And my ego just really loved it, you know. Tell me more, tell me more. And he said, Bob and I, not Bob Gale, I'm not blaming you, Bob. Bob and I have decided you need to be a minister. And you know, I dropped that pursuit of passion so fast because I thought, a minister? Oh my God. They think I should be a minister? Anyhow, I went back to school for another 2 years. At that time, it was 7 years. You know, it was the first year, 30 weeks, second year, 30 weeks, third year, 30 weeks consciousness studies, fourth year practitioner, fifth year practitioner, sixth year ministry, and seventh year ministry. So I graduated in 1974 as a minister. And I went on, I have to say this in all humility, I did go on, I had 4 churches in Napa. We had a great explosion of people. I went up there. Then in Burlingame, I had a great big church, beautiful church, wonderful people. And then I started this church in San Francisco, and we had a huge church. I mean, it was so big, we had to move to the Scottish Rite Temple at 19th and Sloat. And then I stayed 5 years, and then after going to Japan for a while to study Buddhism and make money, put that together, Lloyd. And I went down in, I think, 1998. Where's Amanda? When did you buy my schoolhouse? 1998? Yeah. And then I went down there till 2003, I think. Doesn't matter. I'll make it up. I had 4 churches, but something was always missing. And that was because I was able to do what I'm doing with you today, and I was totally supportive of prayer therapy, but I wasn't able to do it because I was running a church. And running a church, let me tell you, can be a piece of work. Because you never, well, I'm not going to say that because Carol wouldn't like it if I told you the truth. Anyhow, now I think I will sit down if it's possible and talk to you about what I'm doing now, because that's the important thing right now. My work now is the most wonderful thing I've ever done. I live in my little home on Cape Cod. I live on a precipice of land in a conservatory of land that is reserved for migrating birds. And I always thought I would live in Cape Cod because my dad's family had moved to Cape from Wales. I'm half Welsh and half Sicilian, so don't fool around with me here. I have an Uncle Louis in Palermo. He makes cement shoes, custom made. Anyhow, my mother was Sicilian, my father was Welsh. And so my dad died when I was 12, and we all moved out to California, to Ojai, Santa Barbara area. And I never really connected with my father's family. So I thought in buying this house in 2003, which is when I bought it, I would be able eventually to go and spend a month or two and reconnect with my father's roots, with the idea that eventually, I don't use the word retire, but I would change my life to the extent that I would be able to go and live there and write like Ralph Waldo Emerson and Henry David Thoreau. I mean, I always thought big, you know, and I would try to to think like Mary Baker Eddy and Emma Curtis Hopkins and Merrill and Charles Fillmore and the pièce de résistance, my mentor and teacher, Raymond Charles Barker. What I didn't know that would happen is that I would have this little breakout. Oh, thank you. Oh, isn't she sweet? I feel like Bishop Sheehan, my little angel. You younger people, you missed all the good shows. But don't worry, we got some in store for you, though. But I did not think at the time that one of my students would write a book called Think Better, Live Better. I call her my students. That's what all of us old poops do, you know, when we get to this place where we have gray hair and we're doing spiritual work. Oh, one of my students has written a book, you know. But little did I know, she did write a book, a very successful writing too, if I may say, according to one of our members who was at a filming the other day at Sue Ruta's, and one of my students would become a film producer. One of my people would become an inventor of machines that make soft ice cream and go in business with Warren Buffett. I mean, the gamut of the work I do now, which is I do counseling, I do practitioner work, but I do it at a level that isn't, how can I put this? It may not be as intimate as when you work with a practitioner, but I am a minister and I have been known to be a minister, so a lot of ministers call me and they present problems to me, and I'm oriented as a solution person, because when you can have an arm's length from something and you can look at it objectively, sitting in a bird fly path with tweets in the background and cranes and beautiful things going on, you're not bogged down with the everyday duties of what some people get bogged down in, like myself. I was bogged down. But once I made that breakout and I could reconnect with that's what I was trying to say. When I was lying there, I went back to that place where I had passion. And the passion was the fact that I had been acknowledged as being worthy to be licensed as a practitioner. And I thought, why did I not stay with that wonderful feeling of fulfillment, and that made me feel alive? And more importantly, it made me feel I had worth. You know, I've been a hustler all my life. I don't think I ever said that before. But you make me do it because you're all truth students. And money, I pursued money. And it didn't matter whether I was producing hamburgers or I was buying real estate, or I don't think I ever did anything dishonest that I'm aware of. But if there was a dollar sign and it looked like I could do it within the ethics that I tried to live by, I pursued it. And most of you know I made a lot of money. Any of you who've been around me for a while know I made a lot of money. But guess what? It did not bring me happiness. And I mean a lot of money. But And I could measure it. I could measure it because when I had a lot of money, God, this is tell-all. How much time have I got? I got to finish here. Keep talking. Oh. I used to get my checkbook out and look at it to have it reflect how good I was, how successful I was. But I wasn't happy. I didn't have that deep, abiding feeling, oh yes, God, thank you, that a great artist achieves. So when people say to me today, what is your passion? I say, my passion is my purpose. I live to reveal the truth, like Monet did at his Chevrolet garden outside of Paris. I paint on the canvas of life daily the inspiration of the picture of truth for the people who allow me into their inner sanctuary, and I lift the veil, and I look at the face of God, and I tell them all about it. And I want to tell you something. J.A. Gustafson said the other day when we were filming, that the reason that he loves this book, Think Better, Live Better. Stand up, Francine, I want to introduce you. This is one of the people that I claimed as my student. She's a student of the world. Look what I found when I lifted the book. A check. I gave a sermon once, Why Money Follows Me All the Days of My Life. I better listen to that sermon again. I will. It's a good sign. Anyhow, when I do that, and this is the part that I want to deliver to you, when I hang up from my, because all my counselings are phone calls. I don't do Skype because it makes me think I have to go see the wizard on Upper Park Avenue. Any of you see, what was that, Chorus Line? When she was getting a little upheaval, and she called it the wizard on Upper Park Avenue. Well, I don't do Skype because I don't look at myself when I don't look good. So I look from here up. Anyhow, but when I hang up that phone, I realize, even in the condition I was in, that I was the happiest I had ever touched, that touchstone of happiness. And I think, well, why am I so happy? And I realized what it was is that I was passionate about what I'm doing. And you know what? My clients, I know they believe it. I can't believe that they would tell me a lie. They tell me I do great work. And I do work for people that have no money. Not all of them, thank God. That would be, well, let's just say it would be an opportunity for growth for Lloyd. That's what it would be. But I do great work, and they tell me, and my inventor tells me, I work for a sculptor, I work for a book writer, I work for 2 doctors, I work now for a filmmaker. I do work for a filmmaker down in LA too. I mean, the gamut of the work I do is everywhere. I work for entrepreneurs who are, creating these things that I do email. Don't talk to me about beyond that. I mean, but they're creating these new, incredible, computer derivatives that do everything. Well, I won't tell you what they're going to be doing for you, but you won't have to be buying certain paper products very long. I mean, they do everything. I work for them. And when they call me, they just say now, Lloyd, this is an issue, fix it. And here's the good thing about what we teach here. I only tell them what I've been taught. But I have the time now to really learn and think about it. And that's why this book, I have no interest in this book, by the way. I mean, other than that my dear friend wrote it. If you want to, if you're in the beginning or the midpoint, or you think you know it all, I certainly thought that. Michael, did I say something wrong? Okay. I just want to be sure. That you pick up a book like this, and I tell you folks, because I do have to wind up, I know, you never can learn too much of a good thing. And wherever you are in your evolution, you can never learn too much about the truth, about how great you are and how necessary to the creative process you are, because you are essential. You, just as you sit here right now. Dr. Barker, and I'm going to promote this book too, because he left it to me when he passed on, with 6 other books, which I am in the process of re-editing and rewriting. This one, Reverend Carroll and I and Reverend Dr. Pamela Gray redid, and it's out now by Random House. For God's sake, get this book. For God's sake and your sake. Oh, The Power of Decision. It's over there. I ordered it. Right, Cece? All these women run my life. I just love it. See, since my breakout, I have women everywhere. I love them. Anyhow, if you get those books, and I got to finish this up. I know, God, I need 2 hours. I can't do this in 20 minutes. What you do is you prime the pump. It's called a primer. Now, you think you don't know, like, where's Jay? There he is. Look at that brilliant man. He knows everything. But he's sitting there at that filming the other day, ranting and raving like a spiritual touched beingness of God. Was that what you told me to say, Jay? Yeah, all right. He was saying to one of the elders in our church, who was not responding the way I thought he should, by the way, to Jay's talking about this book. And he's saying people in our movement are given books that are written by people like this guy, and I guess Lloyd, but nobody understands the way they write today. You know, the writing was done in the 30s and 40s, the 20s, and maybe some of the 50s, and I better put the Beatles in there in the 60s and 70s, and not, you know what I'm talking about. But Francine comes along. She was with J. Walter Thompson on Madison Avenue, drinking martinis in the 70s and 80s in New York, getting ready. She wasn't drinking martinis, but I'd like to start rumors. It's okay. And she's a brilliant person. She's in the fast lane most of the time, but she slowed that puppy down, and she wrote this book for Jay and all the Jays in the world who think our books, like this one, but don't worry, I'm going to keep you on the hook, are too deep, too written in language of the earlier days, and this and that. But I'm going to tell you this. My teacher, one of my teachers, I had to have a lot, Dr. Robert Scott, told me when I graduated ministerial school in 1974, my class elected me to give the valedictorian, whatever that is. It's a big word, and I don't know what it means. It's probably just as well. But anyhow, he said, I want you to talk on Troward. And I just started reading Troward in 74. I've been in this work, as Frank said, 48 years. I'll celebrate it with you when I do 50. But anyhow, he said, I want you to talk on Troward. And I said, I can't talk on Troward because I just started reading it. He said, read a chapter. And he said, even though you think you don't know it, guess what? Now this is a gift to you. He gave it to me. Your subconscious already knows it. And when you read it, you're revealing consciously what you're learning to your subconscious. And since your subconscious is intelligence, it is the universal mind which you personify in you. It knows everything that ever will be recognized by conscious intelligence. It knew what Bill Gates so-called created. He got in touch with it because intelligence, the principle of intelligence, if you don't remember anything, write this down, remember this, is responsiveness. So are you intelligent? Were you intelligent to sit down in a chair? Obviously, every person here is an embodiment of intelligence. You can't deny that. Even the naysayers who say, no, I'm stupid, I dropped out of school, I don't have an education, I can't even speak English. Hum! Hum if you have to. And if you have to use a little dirty word once in a while when you're reading something that begins with S, and you're looking at this and saying, what the heck is this? Heck, I'm inserting. Go ahead and do it, because subconsciously you know it. You know it. And why? Because intelligence responds to intelligence. Francine didn't know she was going to write this book, but she was inspired. That's what we get. That's all we get, by the way, from the universal mind, which we call God as spirit in you as you. It gives us inspiration. Now, the first chapter in this book of Raymond's, Barker, is about inspiration. It defines who you are. He has a thing in spiritual healing for today, which I'm working on right now. It's out of print. And he says, the best thing I ever heard about us, he said, I am not self-created. God, if I had gotten that Bob back in the 60s, I would have gotten my bloated nothingness out of the way of the divine circuitry. That's my Emerson for the day. I am not self-created. And that immediately sets you up. Well, if I'm not self-created, how am I? What am I? And then he says in the next sentence, I am the result of a dynamic consciousness, which we've dubbed God or Spirit or Yahweh. I am the result of a dynamic consciousness to give it a means of expression through the individual. But the individual is not going to get that inspiration that Francine got or your practitioners have, and Francine has got because she's on her way to her second book, until you recognize who you are. That should be your passion this morning. Who am I? That was a question Raymond Barker did to us ministers. We had to stand without our cane, and he would get right in front of us, 6'5", 350 pounds, and he'd look you right in the eye and he'd say, who are you, Lloyd? And I'd have to say, oh, God. I am an individualization of an infinite life that knows no bounds. I am an individualization of an infinite mind that uses me to express itself when I respond to it and I act like it, that it needs me to be its means of expansion. I am a creative, individualized center of God consciousness that was never born and I can never die. I am the immortal principle in unfoldment in a human form, in a physical body, that when it no longer serves me, I will put down and step over and clothe myself in the next dimension. How much further do you want me to go? All right, Frank, get up here. All right. Primer for the pump. You already know everything that's in this book. If you prime the pump for 15 minutes a day, that water like an artesian well will come up. You'll be able to take your arm off the handle that you've been priming it with, which is this book or Francine's book, and suddenly you will feel passion like you've never felt passion. You won't have to go on a porn site. You won't have to win the lottery. You won't have to say to yourself, God, you're gorgeous. I do that every morning, by the way. Raymond taught me that. Look in the mirror and say, after you brush your hair, I am gorgeous. You devil, you're up to something. Something like that. I made up the rest. All right, folks, I got to close. But let me just say, I love you. Thank you for all coming here. Thank you for being with me. Know that I'm alive and well. I'm living with the birds. They're watching over me at night. I have foxes that come, and I'm doing my passion. And I wish for all of you that please have the practitioners and Minister Sarah Hargraves, whom I dedicate this talk to. Sarah is one of my clients. She teaches me and pays me to teach me. Isn't that great? Wonderful system we've developed here. Stand up, Sarah. I want you to see Sarah Hargrave. Every practitioner in the room, please stand up. Come on. These people are all here for you. There you go. All for you. All right, Frank. Don't you hit me with that stick. This is one of my greatest students here. Isn't that wonderful what he did in the beginning? My mind is a center of divine operation. The divine operation is always for expansion and further expression. I'm not going to say it all because I want him to think he knows more than I do. But that's what you are. And if you don't understand it, get to class. Classes are starting. And if it's an advanced class and you've never taken class, bribe Carol and say you want to audit it. You're not taking it for credit, you're taking it for primer, for the pump. Anyhow, I love you so much. And I am so full of it, I got to sit down. All right. Yeah, I'll sit there. No, Frank, I'm going to get down. Yeah. Thank you. Oh, my God.
Are you going to give us a treatment at some point?
Yes, if they let me. I will. Tell them I want to do a treatment. Oh, can I do that, Scott? Oh, listen, I understand you're filling my shoes. I don't know if I like you. Okay, they said I could do a treatment.
Absolutely.
Scott's letting me do a treatment. Oh, I love to do treatment. All right. All right, let's close our eyes just for a moment, and let's do an RCB. That's Raymond Charles Barker, or Francine Huss. Get it from both ends and pretend you're Lucky Pierre, or Lucky Pierres. You're being sandwiched. I am not self-created. I am the result of a dynamic consciousness, which I call and I know to be infinite mind. That is the spirit of all life. And I am its beloved, in whom it is well pleased. It doesn't matter what conditions exist in my life, because I don't treat on conditions. I don't prey on conditions. I create conditions. So whatever conditions from the past, if they're good, they'll continue. If they're not so good, they'll dissolve and return to their native state of no-thingness. I direct the creative process. I direct the creative medium, which is intelligence, the law of intelligence that brings forth and energizes and heals and restores and regenerates and perfects and makes me new moment to moment to moment. Life is not through with me, and it's not through with you. I am open, as Emerson said, not by choice. I was born that way. That's the way it is, because I am an inlet to all that is divine, and I have chosen. And you can choose right now with me to be an outlet for all that is divine. You are the manifestation of one infinite, immortal, wealthy, happy, joyous, healthy, love-filled, romantically inclined symphony of life. And nothing less will do. Not for God, the all-originating Spirit, and not for you, and certainly not for me. I wash myself clean, inside and out. I drink the waters of the high excelsior, and my thirst after righteousness is quenched. I no longer whine. I no longer have words like poor me. I no longer think in victimhood. I am born anew this day, and I open myself up to all the intuition, all the inspiration, all the infinite possibilities, and declare that my passion is revealed to me lovingly, wonderfully, and I assimilate it, I integrate it, I perfect it, I live it, I express it, I share it, and I am fulfilled. That is my purpose. And whatever else is necessary to fulfill that purpose is irresistibly drawn to me. For my state of consciousness is now vivified with the life of God itself in me, through me, and as a result, I rejoice, I give thanks, and I let it be so. And so it is. Amen. All right. God, I feel like I'm going to astro project here in a minute. Yeah. Thank you. Oh, I've taken the hand of a new minister. Oh, I never thought I'd see the day. Thank you, Scott.
Wow. What shoes to fill. So, and it is in that awesome space of consciousness that we step into that time of conscious giving now. So, after our song. Thank you.
So this is a little more of what the good Reverend was giving us. It's by Michael Gott. It's called Nearer Than the Air.